Imagine standing before a mirror, not just any mirror, but one that reflects the deepest parts of your soul, a mirror that shows not only the light you aspire to embrace, but also the shadows you've long kept hidden. This is the journey many spiritual seekers overlook, the path of confronting the darkness within. Many believe that spiritual awakening is a process of escaping pain, transcending negativity, and embodying only light. But what if the true path to enlightenment requires us to embrace the very shadows we fear? Anger, arrogance, envy, ignorance, pride, jealousy, and resentment, all these suppressed emotions reside within us. Carl Jung once said that what we resist will persist. The shadow, with all its fears, traumas, and suppressed emotions, is part of our very being, waiting to be acknowledged. It is in that acknowledgement, not in avoidance, that we begin to heal. As we dive deeper into this, you'll come to understand that the shadow isn't your enemy. It's a part of you, a guide to greater wholeness. Because the truth is, without facing our darkness, the light we seek will always feel just out of reach. The shadow isn't always as obvious as we might think. It doesn't announce itself with grand gestures, but hides in the subtle moments, when we judge others, when we feel a sudden surge of jealousy, or when someone's arrogance makes our blood boil. The truth is, when we notice these traits in others and feel triggered, we are often being shown a part of ourselves that we have disowned. Imagine you're at work, and a colleague gets a promotion. You find yourself feeling a wave of jealousy, even though you outwardly congratulate them. What is this emotion really saying? It's not just about their success. It's a reflection of a part of you that feels inadequate, or perhaps even envious of the success you haven't yet claimed for yourself. The shadow lurks in that envy, asking to be acknowledged, asking you to look deeper. Similarly, let's say you find arrogance in someone particularly infuriating. What does this reaction reveal? Maybe there's a part of you that fears being perceived as arrogant, or conversely, a part that wishes you could embody that same confidence but feels suppressed. As the saying goes, what we dislike in others is often a mirror of what we deny in ourselves. The shadow's appearance in these moments is not to shame you, but to guide you. It's a call for introspection, a chance to face the parts of yourself that are yearning to be integrated. When you understand that your reaction to others is often a reflection of what's unhealed within, you gain the power to transform your inner world. Many of the emotions and traits we consider negative, anger, envy, jealousy, are often repressed because we've been taught they're wrong. From a young age, society teaches us that these feelings are undesirable, and so we push them down, fearing judgment or feeling ashamed. We don't want to admit we're envious or angry because that would mean confronting uncomfortable truths about ourselves. But as Carl Jung explains, what you resist not only persists, but grows in size. When we reject these emotions, they don't disappear. Instead, they retreat into the unconscious, waiting for moments to resurface. In fact, Jung believed that the shadow, the parts of ourselves we deny, lives in the unconscious mind, and when ignored, it only becomes stronger. These suppressed feelings can control us without our awareness, shaping our decisions, reactions, and relationships. Take, for example, someone who's been raised to believe that anger is bad. They grow up pushing away any signs of frustration, always aiming to please others and maintain peace. However, that anger doesn't just vanish. It hides, festers, and eventually erupts in moments they least expect. Perhaps during a seemingly minor disagreement with a friend or family member. The shadow is like a pressure cooker. If you ignore it for too long, it will find a way to explode. Or think of jealousy. You might suppress feelings of envy toward a friend's success, convincing yourself that you're better than that. But deep down, that jealousy still exists. Instead of addressing it, you avoid it, and over time, It seeps into your interactions, perhaps leading to passive-aggressive comments or distancing yourself from the person. The shadow is clever. It knows how to disguise itself in ways we don't immediately recognize. Jung teaches us that the only way to free ourselves from this control is to bring the shadow into the light. We must confront these buried feelings, not with shame, but with compassion. By acknowledging their existence, we can begin the process of healing and integrating them into our conscious selves. For the spiritual seeker, few moments are as transformative as the one in which they finally confront their own shadow. It's a turning point, a moment that begins not with rejection, but with recognition. Debbie Ford, in The Dark Side of the Light Chasers, reminds us that we often spend years running from parts of ourselves, labeling them as bad or unworthy, when in truth these hidden aspects are crucial to our wholeness. When we stop resisting these emotions and instead bring them into the light, we find that they hold the key to our true selves. This is particularly important for seekers of light. They may feel that anger, envy, or even hatred are forces they must deny in order to embody love. However, love and hate, as explained by many spiritual teachers, are not separate forces. They exist on the same spectrum, merely at opposite ends. To understand one, you must be willing to face the other. As Jung teaches, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. It's in this confrontation with the shadow that true healing begins. Consider this. Imagine you feel an overwhelming hatred towards someone who seems to have everything you want: success, wealth, love. What if, instead of labeling this feeling as wrong and pushing it down, you acknowledged it? You might discover that this hatred is rooted not in their success, but in your own belief that you're not deserving of it. In that moment of recognition, you begin to reclaim a piece of your power, because what we suppress does not disappear. It festers within us, manifesting in unexpected ways. This process of admitting, accepting, and integrating the shadow is the hardest part of any spiritual journey. As seekers of light, we are often taught to focus only on love, light, and positivity. But the deeper truth is that the shadow, those parts of ourselves that we dislike, deny, or hide, is a powerful teacher. When we admit to ourselves that we feel anger, envy, or even hatred, we stop these emotions from controlling us from the unconscious. Carl Jung, in his exploration of the psyche, explains that the shadow is not inherently evil, it is simply unknown. When we bring it into the light of awareness, we begin the most important process of healing, acknowledging the parts of ourselves we've kept hidden, and in doing so, integrating them into the whole. This is the true beginning of self-love, when we can look into the depths of our soul and see not only the light, but also the darkness, and love both. We step into the fullness of who we are. We realize that the shadow was never an enemy, but a guide leading us to our own healing. And in this realization, we begin the most profound journey of all, the journey toward inner peace and complete self-acceptance. While most of us associate the concept of projection with negative qualities, our anger, jealousy, and insecurities, what we often forget is that projection works both ways. We don't only cast our shadows onto others, but also our light. As we continue this journey, let's explore how we project not just our flaws, but also our brilliance. The truth is, the greatness you admire in others is a mirror of your own unclaimed potential. We tend to see our shortcomings in others because it feels safer. It's easier to project our insecurities and judge them in someone else, rather than face them head-on. But what if we told you that the qualities you most admire in others, the courage of a leader, the talent of an artist, the resilience of a fighter, are simply reflections of what lies dormant within you? Many people idolize celebrities, athletes, or artists and find themselves lost in their admiration for these figures. Yet what they're really seeing is a reflection of their own greatness, their own potential waiting to be recognized. For example, think about the admiration people hold for someone like Michelangelo. Most may say they aren't anything like him, but perhaps it's not his exact talent they're drawn to. It's his creativity, his courage to be bold, his ability to express his genius. What they fail to see is that these same qualities exist within them, waiting to manifest in their own unique form, whether that be music, writing, teaching, or even gardening. The essence of this law is this: if you see greatness in someone else, it's because that greatness exists within you. If you feel a spark of inspiration, it's because that potential is already alive in your heart. Your job is not to covet someone else's success, but to reclaim that aspect of yourself and nurture it into being. What we see in others, whether it's light or shadow, is simply an aspect of ourselves being reflected back to us. But why do we ignore this brilliance within us? Sometimes it's because we've been conditioned to suppress it. Society may tell us that it's arrogant to own our greatness, or we may feel unworthy of it. Other times, we shy away from it because we've internalized the fear of failure or rejection. Yet, this is the ultimate truth. You cannot recognize something in someone else unless it already exists within you. So take a moment. Reflect on the people you admire. What is it about them that stirs something inside you? Maybe it's their confidence, their passion, or their boundless creativity. Now, close your eyes and consider this. That same brilliance is in you. You may express it differently, but it's there. Inside every dream lies the potential to make it real. As we reach the end of this journey through the shadow, it becomes clear that embracing our darkness is not a burden, but a gateway to self-discovery. The shadows we project onto others, both the traits we admire and those we despise, are mirrors reflecting back the parts of ourselves we've either forgotten or denied. The healing begins when we stop running from them and instead face them with curiosity and compassion. The power lies not in fighting these projections, but in owning them. When we recognize that the greatness we see in others is already within us, and that the flaws we resent are simply unhealed aspects of ourselves, we reclaim our wholeness. This is where transformation truly begins, when we accept that the mirror is not our enemy, but our greatest teacher. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And that journey requires us to look into the mirror of life and see every reflection, both light and shadow, as a piece of the masterpiece we are meant to create. Let the mirror be your guide, not to perfection, but to authenticity, to the full expression of your soul's potential.